Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to this next episode of Industry Leader Live. Delighted to welcome Stuart Lawson, who's the Global Alliance Manager at Crown Worldwide Group and responsible for leading activities in the identification, selection and performance management of a diverse supply chain across the company's service range, which includes world mobility, relocations, logistics, fine art movement, and records management. Hello, Stuart. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, James. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all keeping safe and well in these challenging times.
Stuart, tell us a little bit. Well, firstly, thank you very much for joining us. But tell us a little bit about Crown and what Crown does and your involvement in the process, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So Crown Worldwide is a privately held group of businesses serving the B2B market as well as some B2C markets. We were founded in 1965, so we've been going for some 55 years now and still going strong. We're headquartered in Hong Kong, where we've been based since 1970. Our heritage business arose out of international household goods moving. And we developed really into a global business by following client need, but also through some acquisition as well. And we're now in a situation where today we have operations in 46 countries around the world. Right in the late 1990s, we diversified into broader relocation services. So providing services such as immigration, destination services, so that's orientation, home finding, settling in, school search. And also, of course, temporary living more recently, which is associated with, I think, what we've seen as an increase in short-term assignments. And I think at the last count, we had 42 different service offerings within our portfolio related to relocation services. And so we've diversified pretty well within the mobility sector, but also, James, as you mentioned, we have a thriving records management business, which is really about the storage and management of information, particularly important to health authorities, etc. right now at this time. And that part of our business has been quite busy. We have a fine art moving business as well, which works with museums, galleries, auction houses. We kind of pack and transport valuable pieces of artwork around the world. And we've recently launched a workspace brand as well, which is really about helping clients to design and develop effective and engaging workplace environments for their staff. So that's in short. I mean, we employ about 3,500 people worldwide, we're probably the largest privately held business in our sector. In our sectors, that's for sure.
Wow, that's interesting, especially fine art movement and so forth. But
yeah, we get some interesting customers with the fine art business. That's for sure. And it's been a vehicle for investment for many years. So, but it's certainly the museums and galleries. There's some really impressive pieces that we've been called upon to relocate. Starting out in places like the Louvre in Paris, you get to handle some fairly valuable things, which requires a huge amount of care and expertise.
Yes, how interesting. Well, Stuart, we've talked a lot over the last year or so about welfare, due diligence, duty of care. And of course, we have recently launched our Stay with Confidence promise, which is encompassing health and safety matters and cleaning protocols when it comes to our compliance and accreditation programs. And just tying that in with a recent GBTA survey, showing that travellers would feel more comfortable if cleaning standards were increased, which is interesting, to exceed those standards currently in place. The results of which were 80% said accommodation, 76% said planes, interestingly, and ground transportation at 70%. So how does this align with the feedback from your clients? I mean, does that resonate with you? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, James, it does. And one of the things that we've been doing really is to make sure that we speak to as many clients on a broad range of topics, over these past 10, 12 weeks, whilst the pandemic has been has been rampaging through the world. We've been looking to gather insight so that we could inform, not only inform our clients, but also inform our own decisions on service delivery in a new norm as to whatever that's going to look like. And as a client of the temporary housing industry, it's really important for me to state that I think our key message to our clients and I think the wider customer base is that health and safety really is of paramount importance, and it is a huge priority for us, and that we are doing everything that we can to prioritize first and foremost the health, safety and peace of mind of both our customers and our employees. If I tell you that I report to the Chief Risk Officer in the organization, James, it'll tell you that we take a very cautious approach to the way that we manage our supply chain anyway. But an event such as this only serves to heighten, I think, the need for increased focus on duty of care, which has underpinned what we've been talking to our clients for many years now. But we really do expect our supply chain to be totally aligned to that priority of health and safety, and in turn be committed to improve any standards that supports that stance. So, where clients are saying to us that cleanliness is of huge importance, then clearly, for us, we'd be foolish not to listen to that. Customers do want higher standards in cleanliness, I think, not necessarily from what we're hearing in terms of more frequent cleaning services, but I think, and in fact, in some circumstances, we're seeing that clients actually want less cleaning services, but they do want assurance that those services are delivered to a high standard, and that the products used, are what they should be in these circumstances. So yes, it absolutely resonates with us. And of course, it's a moving target. Literally, the transportation side is a moving target, and it's a very difficult challenge for us to overcome, I think.
Well, there's no question about that. As we've said, we've recently launched a protocol which embraces all of that within our members, who've completely got behind our aspirations, which is really very important, as has many other brands around the world, accommodation brands, who are providing the solutions for all of this. So we think, without question, that the work we've done, the implementation of accreditation over the years, and heightened awareness of, as you say, cleaning standards and giving the customer the choice, that's the point, giving them what they want, it's never been really more important. So
no, and that absolutely speaks to our need for some for standards to be driven home, to be maintained, to be improved all the time. We're about improving the quality of service provision, improving everything that we do. So that absolutely supports the message that you're taking out into the temporary living industry, and we're absolutely behind you on that, James. So very happy to reinforce that.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much. I'm being asked quite regularly about the time frames and where we think a recovery might grassroots, I suppose, as much as anything might be seen at some point. What are your thoughts? What are you hearing for a recovery?
Well, that's it's again, we're talking about a moving target, aren't we? Firstly, at Crown, we've been tracking the progress of the virus from a very early stage. We've been using predictive models, as well as on-the-ground insight, both from our own employees and from those partners that operate in territories where we don't have our own operations. And we're really grateful to those people who've given us that information, because it's helped us to pass on our insights and knowledge to our clients. But let's face it, COVID-19, it's created an unprecedented challenge, I think, for the whole world. Businesses and temporary living, is a really affected industry by this. But it's not just business, it's communities, it's families, it's everyone's been affected by it. And I think, like everybody else, we're grateful to those who've put themselves at risk to save lives and improve our chances of returning to a new normal. Mm. So, whilst our initial response was a tactical one, where we worked to understand and address those local impacts because we wanted to reassure clients and protect the safety of their employees, we're now starting to see some confidence grow as individual countries better articulate how the new norm will affect our daily life and business practices. And again, where governments have taken a varied approach, that's kind of, it's made it an increased challenge, I think. But what it is leading us to is to focus particularly on the future. I think demonstrating our understanding of changing environments in an empathetic way is really important, that we verbalize that to our clients and to give them the reassurances that they need. So we're looking to build client confidence whilst promoting a strong safety message. Mm. I think, as I've mentioned earlier, the duty of care has always underpinned our service ethic, and I think that becomes even more relevant now. But as for a time frame, well, yeah, that's an interesting one. I think at any time frame for a new normal in international mobility will be governed by the recommencement of the processing of visa applications. That, I think, as well as the implementation of safe travel environments. The good news is that the majority of clients that we've spoken to indicate that plans are delayed, they're not cancelled, albeit that there might be some variation on types of services that might be required when those plans do start to come live again. And we also know that there's some real pent-up demand. I think pre-COVID, we were seeing higher volumes of visa applications than in previous years. So, there's plenty of people wanting to relocate. It's just getting those visa applications processed. And of course, we can't do that until government bodies open up their offices again. Mm. But when that happens, then I think, and when applications do progress, I think attention will turn to travelers needing to be confident in how we keep them safe whilst they're on this journey. So, I think that's, the recovery plan is based around, certainly from an international moving perspective, based around progression of visas and safe environments.
And that's great to hear, because of course that's been our DNA. Certainly, the point at which ASAP was formed, it was about that trying to differentiate and having the safety and the recognition, the differentiation of so many organisations that don't comply with legislative expectations. So to hear you say that, Stuart's really very powerful. So thank you very much. I mean, just really as a final then, how would you estimate relocation services adapting to the new normal, if that really is a way of describing what we're about to enter? And for instance, I suppose the subject of cleaning and advice to travellers, socially distancing and moving around. I mean, what's this going to look like for you?
Yeah, well, again, it's been a subject of a huge amount of thought and internal debate based on some of the feedback that we've picked up from current and prospective customers. I think initially there are two elements that have come to the forefront for us. I mean, first of all, it is about, for us, it's how we can deliver services on a face-to-face basis where we can. And working within prevailing guidelines, bearing in mind that those guidelines might be different in one country as they are in another. But I think, as we start to adapt that, so, we're doing things like limiting the amount of time that we spend with customers on a face-to-face basis. We're looking at how we can provide some of our services in an unaccompanied way, where possible, both longer term and short term living searches, either that's a permanent home or temporary living. Applying things like PPE. And again, there's various guidelines according to where you are in the world about what should happen. We're looking at how we develop track and trace records, who we've been in contact with. So, we've drawn up a bunch of safety guidelines for our partner network in particular, as well as our own operations, of course. Whilst recognizing that quickly changing local environments and practices, are going to shape how we go forward with the delivery of face-to-face services. I think the other important thing for us is been gathering information from the customer about their background. I mean, it's equally important that we keep our employees safe. At the end of the day, we have a duty of care for our own employees too, and if they're not safe, then that's going to cause us some potential problems for service delivery further down the line, as well as their personal issues. So we don't want to cause any difficulties there. So we've developed questionnaires to understand a customer's background in terms of their health, and also to make sure that we can explore the opportunity to work safely in the environment that they've created for us, which often is their home. I think the other key part, apart from face-to-face, how we adapt our face-to-face services, it's how we embrace and develop further our technology. I think for us, recent developments have become more relevant than they were before. I mean, if you look at household goods moving, for example, we'd embarked on the use of virtual surveys quite some time ago, but these are now becoming the norm. It's not an unusual activity. In fact, we will always prefer to carry out a virtual survey of a customer's home as part of the pre-move process. We're using things like electronic inventory, using mobile apps, rather than using documentation and paperwork that gets handed from one place to another. I mean, they're two very practical examples on the home moving side. And on the mobility side, as I said, we're seeing increasing use and interest in virtual home searches. We're seeing things like our virtual intercultural language skills training. That a lot of that is being done more virtually now than ever before. But of course, for us, it's not just mobility. It's about our records management business. They're having to put in new operating practices. It creates a different logistical challenge, which has been posed by increased home working. And I think it's also speeding up, the digitalization of the activities that they do. And these things are here to stay, James. That although I think the pandemic has speeded up the progress of them, they're here to stay. For our workspace business, it's actually created some opportunities. We're now supporting clients with office space redesign, building in some additional service offerings. So for us, there are some opportunities as well. But I think one of the things that I do really want to reinforce, particularly on the mobility side, and in particular temporary living, I think the pandemic will speed up our process of reviewing how we purchase temporary living services. And I think we will definitely be using the standards promoted by ASAP and other organizations as part of a more stringent selection criteria. So there's going to be some very I think impactful changes in terms of what we'll be doing to make sure that we ensure the safety of our customers going forward.
Well, Stuart, thank you very much. I can't thank you enough for your time and the support you've given us over the last year. Certainly, since we've been talking about duty of care and due diligence and stuff, and understanding a bit more about what you do and the business of Crown has been really insightful for us. So thank you very much for your time this morning. We really do appreciate it. We look forward to working with you moving forward from here.
Absolutely, James. More than happy to be with you, and hope everybody stays safe, well. And we look forward to seeing you all on the other side in what we hope is a very bright post-virus landscape. So thanks, James, and bye, everyone.
Many thanks.